The Weekly Show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to Tabari Daniels from WJZD and veteran NHL player Glen Metropolit with the Mo Giles Band. Now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home and in our studio audience to The Weekly Show. I am your host, David J. Maloney. To my right, as always, the Mo Giles. So the death of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has supposedly dealt a severe blow to the group's morale. In fact, some terrorists are now so depressed they've lost all the will to die. In California, gasoline prices are skyrocketing. Gas is so expensive now in California that gangbangers in Compton are now committing drive-by shootings from public buses. In England, an 18-year-old man was arrested for marijuana possession, and he was found to have cocaine hidden between his buttocks, which gives whole new meaning to the term crack cocaine. And in San Francisco, a man walked into an art gallery and walked out with a Salvador Dali painting. Onlookers said it was surreal. Being an art guy, I actually like that joke. Speaking of Dali, he had a men's cologne fragrance out for decades. You'd spray it on your wrist and your watch would melt. Lastly, this joke is for one of our guests, Glen Metropolit, who's coming up later. He's from Canada. Air Canada has announced it will no longer be addressing passengers as ladies and gentlemen. Instead, it's opting for the much more gender-neutral term, hosers. If you've never seen The Weekly Show before, please stay tuned. This week, we're back right here at home in our studio audience inside the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. We have two great guests. First up will be Tabari Daniels with local JZ94.5. And then one of my friends, he used to play for the in the NHL for the Capitals, the Bruins, and the Canadiens. Former NHL star Glen Metropolit will be with us by Skype to talk about his NHL career as well as his life after hockey. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we are back. Our first guest tonight is someone who many of you will recognize. He's a staple of the Mississippi Gulf Coast community and leads one of the most successful radio stations right here on the Gulf Coast. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Tabari Daniels. So you're easy like Sunday morning, I think.
I am. I like these digs, David. This is I've made it now. I've made it.
It's fun. We kind of really lucked out with this venue. Your father started it's JZ94.5, which is really a fantastic station right here on the Gulf Coast. I don't know how it all happened though. Can you tell me how that all came about?
Wow. Well, just so happens that the radio station is locally owned and operated. This year we're celebrating 25 years. So not to date myself, but we started when I was like 16, 17, somewhere around there.
You're still younger than me, so you got this.
Oh, okay, all right, we're good. So basically we've, my father put in the hard work, dedication, and put the bid out and got the frequency, and it's been a toil ever since. So
and that's actually a good frequency. I mean, it's low on the dial. And the thing is doing from marketing standpoint things that I know a little bit about dial position. Yeah. And that's actually a really good spot to have gotten when he got it. And I'm sure that and format hard work and effort had to build a lot into it. Now you're involved in it. Now, what made you decide personally that you wanted to be in the mix?
Me? Well, just so happens that I was into doing some singing and some entertainment myself. And it was like, hey, this is a good way to meet celebrities. And everybody comes to the radio station, whether it's athletes or whether it's entertainers and singers and all that good stuff. So I decided at 16, 17, I decided to jump on the radio and had too much fun in the process, and I kept it going. So, good.
What do you think? I mean, you mentioned entertainment. What do you think of local entertainment scene right now?
Oh, wow. When it comes to local entertainment, you know, the Mississippi Gulf Coast is such a jewel when it comes to unsigned talent. Whether you're talking about athletics, whether you're talking about singers, and dancers, and poetry, and actors, there's so much going on here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I've done some things as far as the center stage and I Don't Care Who Tell It and all the fences. Center Stage has done some great things. Community theater has been great. Wings, Performing Arts Center. So there's so many ways of entertainment blowing up here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Not only that, but when you talk about artists, there's a guy by the name of Ugly God. How do you get a name like Ugly God?
Ugly God?
Ugly God is his name. And the name begs to where you want to know who that guy is. And he kind of started here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, went to the high school locally here at Gulfport, and he's been on ever since. When he's home, he's just that guy that everybody knows. But when he's out, it's like people show up at his concerts and they're chanting his name, Ugly God, Ugly God. I'm like, is this really a thing? So he's huge. Automobile in the area is Young Blue. And
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is he ugly?
You know, I saw him put a lizard on his nose one time. Yeah.
That's not something you see every day.
I know, right? But it makes you want to see it. And now he's off to the races. So
it's interesting.
Big shout out to him.
So you've built a name, kind of a little bit of, got a little celebrity following on the Gulf Coast. You do a lot of stuff with the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. Anything big coming up there?
Just so happens, I'm on the Coliseum board, the Coliseum Commission there. So we kind of oversee some things there. Big things happening there at the Coliseum. We're in the process of, fingers crossed, getting a hotel put right there on the grounds there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right now we've got some prospect that's going. They're doing the soil samples. I can't go into too much detail, but fingers crossed, T's crossed and I's dotted. Next year we'll be doing some big things.
Now you had mentioned something. You earlier mentioned sports and athletes and people who come from the Gulf Coast. I know that you were talking with our associate or assistant producer. Yeah. I give him a different title every time. That's
I was talking to that guy.
No, it's a running joke. It started when my kid called him an organic prop in one of our earlier shows. But like Phoenix Suns star, Devin Booker.
Devin Booker,
He's from here.
Oh, yeah.
And he's killing it now,
Incredible guy. He has an incredible family. I've talked to his dad several times. He's from Moss Point. I've got a special place in my heart for Moss Point. I'm there almost all the time. But he released a signature shoe, I think was called Moss Point, just earlier this year. And it was like, what? You got a shoe named Moss Point? So if that doesn't put you on the map, and then just last week he went for 50 points, and he's really turning into a big superstar.
Well, and I think that there's something to be said for stars that remember where they come from. In Pensacola, everybody loves Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, yeah. No
and we had him on a show earlier, and in an earlier episode, and Pensacola loves him because he gives back.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And when you give back, even if you give back in shout outs,
I agree.
People love it. People respect it, and people really, really, really appreciate it. Now, so tell us about if there's any other events coming up, that we need to be looking out for with you guys in the station.
Of course. I know that this Friday we're doing a big blues party with Lacey, big time singer. But in December 29th, we have our Winter Jam with Grammy Award winner Bobby Rush, along with some of the biggest names in blues, Big Pokey and TK Soul. I mean, it's got like a good 6 or 7 acts on that show alone. Then there's Disney on Ice that's coming, PCA Rodeo Finals as well. The usual MLK Coastwide Celebration. The SWAC is back. Alcorn State University is coming. Mississippi Valley State is coming. That's going to be huge. I just got the word on that last night. So there's a lot of things coming.
Is there a website or social media way that people can follow you, follow the station?
Sure. I go into Tabari Beyond, my name, and then Beyond. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook. A little bit more than I should, but there you go.
Tabari, thank you so much for
coming. My pleasure, David. Have me back. I love this place.
Tabari Daniels, awesome. We'll be right back. And we are back. Our next guest tonight is a fantastic guy, both on and off the ice. He had a tough start breaking out of a rough, small community in Canada, and then got to play hockey all across the globe. He started off in Pensacola, Florida, with the Pensacola Ice Pilots, when they were the Ice Pilots, and eventually made it all the way up to the NHL, playing for the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, and the Washington Capitals. Please welcome my friend by Skype, Glen Metropolit. Glenn, before we start talking about your amazing hockey career in a bit, let's start at the beginning. What can you tell us about your life growing up? I mean, geez, your life can almost be a movie there, huh?
Yeah, there's been talks about making a movie, actually. It's a little bit of like The Blind Side, I guess, a little bit like football. But hockey-wise, I was raised downtown Toronto in the inner city, single mom, in and out of foster homes. And hockey saved me a little bit. So, there's been a lot of people that helped me get to where I got to. And, it became my passion, my love. So it was my escape from, the life that I was, away from the rink. It was like, just get me on the ice, get me playing hockey, and that's where I felt the most safe, and I guess showed my expression, kind of deal, my happiness.
And you succeeded where, so many other people failed with the same story. So what would you attribute your success to?
I think maybe just growing up in Canada and everyone loving hockey and hockey always being on TV and basically falling in love with the game. I fell in love with it, and like I said, kind of saved me. And I kept on, there's a inner confidence in myself, knowing that even though I didn't play in the higher leagues, because you need to pay to play hockey. And I was fortunate enough where I got some breaks and people helped out, and I just kept at it, and I always believed in myself.
Now, you jump into your career in a bit. What was the first pro team you signed for, and what were those first few weeks like for you?
Well, my first NHL contract was with Washington Capitals. That was something special. I was watching the greats of Adam Oates, Peter Bondra, Sergei Gonchar, Olaf Kolzig, all these guys, and all of a sudden I'm starting lineup against the Florida Panthers, and my line mates were Adam Oates and Peter Bondra, and I was lining up against Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket, and I was like, okay, don't pinch yourself, just enjoy the game, enjoy the moment. And I just remember just thinking about how lucky and blessed I am, to be able to fulfill my dream. So, and
I remember when you were actually playing for the Pensacola Ice Pilots right here on the Gulf Coast. And that was one of the minor league teams that you passed through on your way to the NHL. And as I recall, that was I think the first season Pensacola had a team, and that was the same year that Wayne Gretzky's brother Brent played, didn't he?
That's correct. Yeah. Brent was part of that crew. I ended up playing 50 games that year. I was up and down from Quebec Rafales. That was the affiliate team that was above Pensacola, the feeder. And I just remember coming to Pensacola, having the great guys, Chad Quinville, Hugo Belanger, just great guys that I was able to play with the year before in Nashville, because Nashville Knights
moved. Yeah, they moved.
Pensacola. So our whole team went there, and just the way we took the city took us in, and we had such a great year. It was a fun. There were
a lot of sellouts that year, a lot of sellouts, and it was just huge crowds. Has there been a moment in your career where you sat back and said, okay, I did it, I made it?
No, David, my life has been such a whirlwind, such a journey. I haven't really been able to sit back and really think about, where I come from and stuff. It's always, I'm starting to get to that point now where I kind of find some stability down here in Tampa Bay where I'm at. I'm getting involved with player development and community work, foster home kids, and I'm really starting to really get in a good headspace. It's been, since I retired 3 years, it's hard. Once you go through retirement, it's like, what do? You've had a schedule your whole life. Coach said, you got to go get that guy. You got to be at the gym this time. You got to eat this. You got to sleep. And then it's like, okay, I'm all on my own here. But it's been a little bit of an adjustment part, but it's been great.
Now, we were talking a little bit about some of the players that you played with before. Which players would you say probably had the greatest impact on your game, both inside and outside of the rink?
The early years, I'd have to say watching Hugo Belanger. You know, he was just a good pro, just a skilled player. I got to watch him play, and he was one of those guys he never really got a good sniff to make it up, but he was so good, and I learned a lot from him. Chad Quimble, a great friend of mine still, just a kind of like a ho-hum, right? Don't get too high, don't get too low. If you have a great game, good for you. If you have a bad game, don't get down on yourself. It's time to get back on the saddle, so to speak.
That's Chad's. That's kind of Chad's. That's just how Chad is. I mean, Chad's my kid's coach, and he's just level. Like,
exactly.
You're not getting him. He's not on either extreme. He's real calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you look at the NHL level. Watching Zdeno Chara. I played for the Bruins, and he was my captain. You just learn through, you just get little pieces here and there from all the greats that I've had. I was so fortunate to play with Hall of Famers, got coached by Hall of Famers. It's just, it's amazing as I talk to you now, Dave, how it kind of sinks in. I haven't really sat down and thought about all that, but it's pretty great.
Was there anybody that you played with that you were just totally awed by?
Oh, Adam Oates as a passer. He was amazing, Hall of Famer, Adam Oates, centerman. And then you got Kovalchuk. I played with Kovalchuk, Marian Hossa, just to name a few. I mean, it was just those guys are at another level. And I got to play with Sid Crosby at the World Championships.
Oh, wow.
So, he was at another level. He was, I was 30 and he was 19 telling us vets where to go. And we're like, okay, Sid, no problem. We'll go there for you.
Well, that's you know what? We're going to take a break on the Crosby note there, and we'll be back right after we pay some bills with some messages from our sponsors.
I got you. Yeah.
And we are back. We're back with Glen Metropolit, talking about your NHL career, and actually, you've played all over the world, literally. So, what were some of those other leagues like? What was the atmosphere?
Well, my first stint, I went to Finland, Scandinavia, and I fell in love with such a small country and being so good at hockey. The time I went over there was basically to get away from Washington Capitals. I had a newborn daughter, Olivia, at the time, and it was 4 years of being up and down, sent up, sent down. And there was a few times where we were staying in the residence inn and she'd sleep in a drawer. So it was kind of just like one of those where I was like, trade me, and they wouldn't trade me. So I'm like, I know I'm good enough for the NHL. So the only way I could get away from Washington was to go over there for a season. And that was my intention, to go over to a good league. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Finland. It's respected. I went there, had a great year. And then the lockout year came. I stayed another year. And then I had some bites again. Then I decided to go back for one more year to Switzerland. And had a great year in Lugano. But in regards to the skill level, Finland was a really good North American style of hockey. Like the Finns really grinded it out. And then you go to Switzerland, where it's more of a finesse game, less contact, but a really good skill. So, and then I came back to the NHL. There's been a few stints where I went to Team Canada. You play against other countries. I got to see the whole world. And I've been blessed, man. Hockey's taken me all around the world. I can go on forever talking about all leagues and different kind of styles of hockey, but.
So, you were talking about how it's essentially saved you. And, this thing just popped up with Don Cherry with this whole thing where he said, you people. And I've met, Don before. He's a little old school, but I think he really met everyone. He's been out there telling people that he really meant by that was everyone. And then you got this Jess Allen that's on whatever their version of The View is up there trying to say that, hockey players are basically just a bunch of bullies and thugs and stuff. But, I mean, my kid plays, and, she tries to make it seem like it's a rich kid sport. But, I mean, it's far from it. I mean, your story is evidence that it's anything but, yeah? Yeah,
well, I mean, I've been on so many teams over my career. I mean, there's nothing better than a hockey dressing room. I mean, we all get along. The sport teaches you so much about life, right? Teamwork, discipline, sticking together.
Character,
yeah, exactly. Perseverance, whatever, right? You can take anything, but it's in regards to what she said, take it with a grain of salt. Don Cherry, I mean, this guy was he he does everything for the veterans. And by him saying you people, he's like, you kids, you guys out there on the ice, it's just by them kind of just taking it out of whack. They're waiting to do that, it seemed, right? They wanted to kind of get him out of there, and that was their opportunity.
That's yeah. It almost seems a little bit like that. Now, you've talked about the fact that hockey has been your life. I mean, what was it like to make the decision to retire? I know it's kind of a common theme that many athletes feel a bit of culture shock coming out of the game because it's all you've known for so long, and that's what you're talking about a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about that adjustment. Tell us some of the things you're doing now.
Well, I retired 3 years ago, Dave. My last year I went over to Bulls down in Austin. I got closure. It wasn't really the most professional league that I thought it was going to be. So I came back on Super Bowl Sunday. I left my equipment there. I said, I'm done. And, I just had enough of hockey a little bit, and then I came back to Destin area, Panama City area. And, spent 3 years there just kind of doing some NHL alumni stuff where I'd fly out and do some workshops and some charity games. And then finally I'm like, I really got to get back into hockey. So I decided I'm moving down to Tampa Bay with the Lightning, and I'm doing some community work, player development, just bringing teaching kids how to play hockey. I'm coaching a few teams. And I think I'm finding my groove again. So,
and you played down there, right?
I was here in Tampa in 2002.
You also mentioned about playing in the national team for the World Championships. How did you first find out about that?
Well, what happened there in 2006, I was in Lugano, Switzerland, and I had a great year. I led the league in scoring. We won a championship. I was MVP. And they usually award like a Canadian player that's over in Europe to play in the World Championships. And I happened to be the guy that kind of got – I never said no to Team Canada. I never will if I get that opportunity. And they gave me a chance to go there and play in Latvia, Riga. And, we had Sid Crosby, Patrice Bergeron, Jeff Carter, Rick, our team was stacked of young, high-end skilled. And we ended up going there. We ended up losing the bronze medal game, but it was amazing to see a Sid Crosby being 18, 19 years old, just how good he was. It was quite an experience, quite an experience.
And one thing that I kind of want to bring up, everybody thinks, hockey players are just, big, massive dudes. But, I mean, you're usually one of the smaller guys on the ice, huh?
Yeah, I'm 5'10", but I'm probably, now that I'm 45, I'm probably 5'7" now. But, I was 5'10" when I played. I wasn't really big, but, like they say, you can't measure your heart, right? You can't weigh your heart. And I took everything as my own little war. That was my puck. And I'm going to fight you for that puck. And if you do that, you're going to get noticed. And that's what teams wanted. And
now, lastly, you were just inducted into the ECHL Hall of Fame. What does that accomplishment mean to you?
It's quite an accomplishment, right? My name's going to be on the Hall of Fame forever, so it's something special.
Well, Glen,
not me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've got some place you've got to get moving to, but I really appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. Glen Metropolit. That's our show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Mo Giles, take us home.